And good evening and happy new year, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of We Got Next. I'm Rickey Hampton, along with the big fella, former Milwaukee Bucks center, Paul Mokeski, sporting his Green Bay Packer uh, uh,
We're live. We're
cap.
live. We're
I'm
live.
representing my NFC North champion Detroit Lions cap. First time in 30 years since Barry Sanders and Herman Moore and Rodney Peete. That's how long ago that has been here. Uh, Mo, we got a great show in store tonight. We want to get on a little early tonight so everybody can sit back and enjoy the national championship football game. Ought to be a good game, and we'll talk about that some tonight.
What's
But
that? Alabama versus USC or something like that?
but Mo, you're the perfect person to have this discussion with. One of college basketball's legendary coaches, 29 years at Michigan State, Tom Izzo. The thing about Coach Izzo, he calls it like he sees it. If his team plays bad, he doesn't make excuses. He's going to let them know and tell you that he played bad. And they played bad the other day. They went into Northwestern and got their butts kicked, 88-74. Now, Northwestern is a much improved basketball program over the years, but Izzo was obviously disappointed that that occurred. And let's listen to some of his post-game comments.
In college now, they want analytics. Analytics, what does analytics mean here? Huh? Does it mean we won the game? Analytics are crap. The stats, all you analytical guys, I hate analytics because they're phony. Sooner or later, you look in a guy's heart, you look in a guy's eye, and then you find out about a guy. Everybody in the NBA and college now, they want analytics. Analytics, what does analytics mean here? Huh? Does it mean we won the game? Analytics are crap. The stats, all you analytical guys, I hate analytics because they're phony. Sooner or later, you look in a guy's heart, you look in a guy's eye, and then you find out about a guy. Everybody in the NBA and college now, they want analytics. Analytics, what does analytics mean here? Huh? Does it mean we won the game? Analytics are...
and let me go, because he went on a little further to say, I'm embarrassed. They kicked our butt in every physical way they could. We deserved to get our ass kicked, and that's what we did. That's Tom Izzo. That's the essence of Tom Izzo. He's going to just call it out when he sees. But your thoughts on his take on analytics? And we know he's pissed off because they just got their butts kicked.
Yeah, that's why it's hard. And, I've seen that situation before. And when I was in Charlotte, assistant coach with Sam Vincent, I always tried to hold him in the office an extra few minutes before he went out to talk to the press especially after a loss, because you don't want to say stuff emotionally. You want to gather yourself. It's very difficult. I mean, we know. After a team loses the Super Bowl, you barge into the losing team's locker room and put a mic in their face and say, "How do you feel now? What is this?" I feel like crap. That's how I feel. Man, we lost the game, but Coach Izzo's been an old school guy for a long time. He also went along to say what we've talked about before on this our show is nothing falls on the players. That's what he said, and he said I'm not being sarcastic, but he was being sarcastic because we all know the difference now. I've talked about it for years how coaching at some point years ago became criticism. So players don't say, hey, he coached me hard and I got to adapt to it. They say, he's got criticism and I got to adapt to the corrective criticism. That's not true. Criticism is me telling Rickey, you can't shoot, and you're never going to shoot. Coaching is, hey, Rickey, you can't shoot right now. We need to work on that before you start taking threes. There's a difference, right? But as far as the analytical stuff, and I worked for one of the biggest teams ever in the NBA to use it. They started using it years ago. I worked for the RGV Vipers, which was the developmental league team for the Houston Rockets with Daryl Morey, and they were one of the most analytical-minded teams back then. Now, like he said, everybody has analytic people, but there's a misnomer about analytics. Number one, I mean, Coach Izzo's a great coach, and here, I'm not here to criticize him, but when he holds up a stat sheet and says analytics are crap and analytics don't count, that's a false statement. He's not talking about analytics. He's talking about stats. His stats from the game. Then he went to go,
Right.
we out-rebounded them. We had more turnovers than them. But that's stats of a game. Analytics goes way deeper than that. And, and analytics, I'm an old school guy. I use analytics. It's not an end-all, be-all. It's a tool. It's one of the tools you use to help coach a team to win. So you have analytics that's very number-oriented. And we've talked about this for a long time. If you're talking about analytics rating shots in basketball, which drives some people crazy because they think you pass up any shot for a three, according to analytics. That's not true. Analytics, the 5 rating shots in analytics are number 1 is not a 3, it's a layup. Number 1 shot you can get in analytics of basketball is a layup. Number 2 is getting to the basket and getting to the free throw line, not a 3-pointer. Now, the third ranking of a shot is a corner 3 in the NBA because it's shorter. It's almost 2 feet shorter than the top of the arc 3 in the NBA. Number 4 is any other 3. And number 5 is out of paint 2s. That means, not shots in the lane. You can get to the basket. It's out of the paint, 15, 16, 17 footers that only count as 2 points. When if you back up to a 3, you get an extra point for making it. And the reasoning behind that is if you shoot 33% from the 3, that's like shooting 50% from the 2. And very few people at any level shoot 50% from the 2, mostly center. So that's what that's all about. So, I think he's really mad and, he's upset about, numbers and what he calls analytics, but analytics goes deeper than that. The analytics goes pace of play. That's another tool you can use. Do you want to be a fast-paced team? Do you want to be a slower-paced team? And that you use analytics to decide. Then you got to adapt to what kind of team do you have. Do you have a bunch of athletes that can run the floor and make good decisions? You want to pick up the pace. You have guys that can execute plays and aren't as fast. You want to slow the pace down. That's an analytic. Points per possession. So that's how you dictate, if you're really playing well or not. You can score 100 points in a college game, but it takes you 150 shots to do that. That's not good. So that's what your analytics tells you. Another analytic that I like is turnover percentage. That means turnovers that you have without creating an opportunity for a shot. We're talking about possessions, right? And you combine that with offensive rebounding. Offensive rebound gets you another possession, which gives you another chance to score. So that's all analytics. That's all involved in analytics. However, analytics is a tool you can use as a coach, general manager, and owner of a team. You also have to use your other tools that you have. Your team players, their heart, their toughness, also their basketball IQ, their health, players' health and mental health, physical and mental health.
No, go ahead, Mo. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Their 5-man rotations. What's the 5 best players on the team that you have that is more efficient? Score more than they give up. Then you have another 5 that you're all hands team. When you're up by a game, when you're up in a game, and you just want to run the clock out, you need guys that are good at handling the ball, don't turn the ball over, and can make free throws, right? You want your all 5 best guys that can press the most athletic and full court press. You know, you're down by 15, you got to make things happen. You know, that's all it. In a game, substitution, that goes by feel of a coach, you know, and it goes deeper than just taking one player out for another player. Like I never liked to take a player out when they made a mistake. I would purposely wait for another play where something else happened, because I don't want that player coming to the bench sitting out going, I got subbed because I made a bad play, and now I'm afraid to make bad plays because I want to play. So all that is combined with analytics and coaching. So I feel for Coach Izzo. I love Coach Izzo. You know, I love his old school attitude, but blaming analytics and calling analytics phony and crap is not true. It's how you use it.
Yeah, and Mo, you look at his Final Four teams, his championship team were built with guys like Mateen Cleaves, who just grinded. Draymond Green, another grinder. You know, nothing fancy about their games whatsoever. They just competed and defended. You know, Zach Randolph, who couldn't jump 3 inches, but, you know, understood how to get buckets.
Yes. Yeah. So if I have that team, my analytics tell me I want to slow the game down. I want to execute in half court. I'm a bit more physical. I can execute. We're smarter than them. I don't want to run up and down the floor with a different team. So that's how analytics.
And that's what they did too. I don't know if you call it analytics, but that's what they did.
Yeah, it wasn't called analytics. It was called basketball logic or basketball 101. You know, like when I played, you know, Celtics, Pistons, guys like that, Milwaukee Bucks, like I was on, you know, we had a knack for finding mismatches. You know, if Rickey, if you're guarding me, I don't need a play. I'm going to go to the post, and then City Moncrief is going to say, okay, Mo's got Rickey in the post. I'm going to give it to him. You know, and that was just called playing. Now that's an analytical part of it now. But you know.
Mo, here's what he said. He said, the reporter asked him, well, how do you explain today's poor performance? Bad coaching. I did a bad coaching job, because remember, you're not allowed to blame the player, so it's bad coaching. And I'm not being sarcastic. My guys didn't play. You know, I might get the football pass out again for rebounding, as I say all the time, and then I'll probably get sued.
Yeah, because, well, number one, come on, coach. Don't say something sarcastically and tell you I'm not being sarcastic. Of course you are. Everybody knows that. And that's okay. But I remember those days where, you know, he put the basketball players in football pads and let them go at it. I mean, you know, and he's right. Today, you can't do that at any level. In the NBA, they would revolt against you. In college, you're right. Players would call their parents and or attorneys and NIL people, and they would sue the school and sue you because you can't put, you know, but that's the difference in today's basketball. I mean, we used to have a drill when I was in high school, college, and actually my early years in the NBA, some of the coaches using it, we called it war. You, me, and 2 other players, 3 guys at a time, underneath the basket, 1 basketball. Whoever puts the ball in the hole 3 times, you get out and the next guy comes in. No fouls, no rules, no dribbling, no traveling. I need to get the ball in the hole 3 times, and then I got to get to rest. And then the next guy comes in. We used to do that all the time. You can't do that now.
You know, and he sounds like, I mean, he's been he's been coaching 29 years, 68 years old. So the game he grew up with no longer exists.
It's not. And I just turned 67. I coached for 23 years at every level, and the game changed. The game changed on the court, talking about less half court, less execution of plays, more actions early on, more flow, more spread the floor. It's an NBA now, and even college is a Euro NBA level game. It's combined. Spacing, draw and kick, angles. That's what it's all about. That's what it changed on the court, and off the court, it changed that. You can't jump on players anymore. You just can't. And I learned from some of the best. Don Nelson, was one of the best, and he told me when I started to coach, he said, one of the most important things you're going to find out, Mo, is you need to find out on your team who you can kick in the butt and who you have to pat on the butt to get them to play the way you want them to. Because just like sons and players, some guys you can scream at, yell at, just get in their face, and they're going to step up and perform better. They're going to take that challenge. Some guys, they're going to feel attacked, and they're going to back up, and then they're just going to make more mistakes, and they're not going to be able to play up. Mm-hmm. You need to find out who those people are, and then push their buttons that way. And it used to find out one of the toughest guys on the team mentally, and that's who the coach always got on. Damn it, Rickey, you got to block out. Damn it, Rickey, you got to run the floor. Damn it, Rick. And all the players were, they were taking that in. They were hearing run the floor. They were hearing block out, but they weren't getting attacked, but you were. But at the same time, coach knew you could handle it. And you were probably smart enough. He might have even told you, hey, this is what's going to happen. When we're not playing hard, when we're not blocking out, when we're not doing, I'm going to be yelling at you specifically, but it's not at you, it's at the team. And you can take it. But you can't even do that. You can't do that anymore.
Hey, Mo, our great friend Steve checked in, and he had a great question. Since we were on last, we forgot to talk about the passing of former Milwaukee Bucks owner Herb Cole, Senator Cole. Talk about him, and did you know him well during your days in Milwaukee? That relationship with the senator.
Well, Mr. Cole bought the team about half. I was there for 7 or 8 years. About halfway through, he bought the team from another gentleman that had owned it for a long time, and he bought the Milwaukee Bucks for $21 million. They're worth $4 billion now, just to know that. But Senator Cole was not only a senator, but his family, the Cole family, were very rich people in Milwaukee that had Kohl's supermarkets. That's like, I don't know what's in Michigan, but the general, like
Meyer, Kroger.
Yeah, Piggly Wiggly, Ralph's in California. So they owned those. That's how they got their money in. And he was a senator, and he bought the team to help keep it in Milwaukee, actually, because there were talks of it getting moved out of Milwaukee, a small market, and moving somewhere else. I don't know where the specifics. At that point, I was just a player. I didn't care. I just wanted to play and stay on the team. But there were talks of, because we played in the old Mecca, and that was a kind of an old, broken down, smaller arena. We got it. And actually his family was integral in raising the money to build the Bradley Center, which now is the Pfizer Center. But so they were thinking about, well, let's just move the Bucks somewhere, maybe Cincinnati, who knows? But he's the one that bought it and kept it there. He was a senator, and he was a smaller gentleman, really quiet, and he would come on the team playing sometimes. And he just wore unassuming clothes, had this little beat up leather carry-on bag, and we would kid around saying, I bet he's got about $5 million in that little bag right there. But he was just a great gentleman, and wanted to really keep the Bucks in that market and make them more successful, and so they can stay there. He also wanted to bring a hockey major NHL team there. The Bradley Center that I broke in one of my last years in Milwaukee, that moved us from the Mecca, the old Mecca, to the Bradley Center, was really built for hockey. It had really place for the hockey boards and all that stuff. And we really knew that because one of the first practices we practiced in there, Rickey Pierce and I, we went to the baseline where we get a lot of shots up, and we look up and the light would shine right in our eyes. You can't see the rim. So we actually had them adjust that lighting, but the lighting was there because it was going to shine on a hockey goal. That's why the light was angled like that. But,
I think it's still a AAA hockey team there, right?
Yeah, I think they
high level.
Yeah, Marquette played in the Mecca for a while, and then they moved into the Pfizer Center now. But there's high school tournaments there. I mean, Lou Alcindor / Kareem played in there. Oscar Robertson played. They won their championship in the Mecca. But Senator Cole was just, a quiet, down-to-earth, straight-shooting politician that did things for the right reasons. Maybe some of these politicians today need to kind of think about what Senator Cole was like.
Yeah. Well, no, let's get to some football before we talk a little NBA. And we got the tournament set in the National Football League. Wild Card Weekend is coming up this weekend. As you look back on the season, what are your thoughts? Your surprises and disappointments?
Well, it's just when you think of months ago, right? Buffalo was unbeatable. The Packers are done. The Lions were a fluke. The 49ers continued to beat, but they were struggling. They have a no-name undrafted quarterback. Kansas City Chiefs were the team to beat, one of the teams to beat. The Miami Dolphins could score, but they couldn't stop anybody. And a lot of that narrative has switched around. And, Tom Brady was going to bring glory to Philly, and he played 10 downs before he was out. So
to New York, yeah.
I mean, to New York, yeah. So, we know that injuries play major parts in sports. Baseball somewhat, basketball a lot, and football more than any. Because at any time, one of your major players could go down and have a season-ending injury. I mean, one of the Miami Dolphins just tore his ACL last week, and he's done. And then some of these teams are getting players back that are getting healthy and rested. And it's going to be interesting because, the Packers looked really good this weekend and won a game that was meaningless to most everybody else except the interim coach there that is trying to keep his job, which is the coaching business. And as he sprinted off the field, the fans were chanting his name. So maybe he keeps his job, but, I think it's more up in the air than a lot of people thought, right? The Super Bowl. I mean, is there a clear cut? I mean, Ravens and Niners, maybe, I guess. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you have to consider the Ravens and Niners the favorites, Paul, but as great as Lamar's been, he really hadn't had a lot of success in the playoffs. But this is definitely the best team he's had gone into the playoffs with. And the 49ers, I still have questions about Purdy, although he's done it really for 2.5, a year and a half now. And what happens, man, you get in there, you turn that ball over, or you lose a guy that goes down, anything can happen. And I still think about Patrick Mahomes and what he's capable of doing in a playoff situation.
Yeah. Problem with that, Ricky, and they're my team, you know that. Their receivers are terrible. I mean, they can't catch the ball. And so now
you can't throw it and run out there and then catch it, huh?
Yeah, so now you can double team Kelsey, so he can't get open. And I'm still like, when I watch the HBO special with Miami Dolphins, and I'm like, Tyreek Hill should be on the Chiefs. That would change everything. If Tyreek Hill was on the Chiefs, they'd probably be up for the Super Bowl
Yeah.
for sure. Probably a favorite
Yeah.
to win it all. But
Yeah.
they keep the one receiver that lined up offside to cost them a game, and then he drops the ball too. I mean, come on, man.
Well, the thing is, with the salary cap, you got to make these financial decisions. And one of them would have been, I know if I'd have been there, I'd have found a way to keep Tariq Hill, because that's my best weapon is Patrick Mahomes, and his favorite guy is Tariq Hill.
Yeah, so
I mean,
so you have
why you break that up?
You have Kelsey and
And Hill, yeah.
Kelsey Hill. Now you take one away. It's like cutting off your right hand. I mean, I would have found some way. I mean, I don't know. I mean, offensive line is so important. You got to put defensive line. You got to put a rush on, DBs, all that. But I'm telling you, you can find some offensive linemen. You can find some DBs. You can find some of those guys. You can't find any more Tyreek Hills.
Hey, Mo, I got a question for you from a coaching perspective. Bill Belichick, 24 years in New England, 6 Super Bowls. You can make the argument he's the greatest professional football coach ever. He's definitely in the conversation. But clearly, the magic is not there right now, and he may not ever get it back. And he's 71 years old. Do the Patriots owe him a send off of any kind?
Well, I don't like that Sidney Moncrief played for the Atlanta Hawks at the end of his career. I don't like that Dominique Wilkins played somewhere. I don't like that Patrick Ewing played for Seattle. I just, that doesn't sit well with me. I just, and I don't like that, a great coach like that, if he wants to coach, is going to have to go somewhere else. Now, I would talk to him about, being in the front. Okay, coach, let's be in the front office, and you can be a big piece of turning this around again. But,
that is one of the conversations that.
But let's face it, in sports, they don't owe you anything. As a player, as a coach, they don't owe you anything, man. The team is the team, and if you're depending on them to owe you something, that's not going to happen. Should it be? Yeah, but and let's face it, he's like running on the football's changed too, right? It used to be get a running attack and then you can pass every once in a while. Now it's the opposite way, so it's totally different. And at some point you got to realize it's time to step away. And that's why a lot of coaches, you look at Phil Jackson or guys like that stepped away when they were top of their game, and because they don't want to be remembered for those tough years. So coaching is a tough profession. The word in coaching is you're hired to be fired. So when you sign your contract and you're really happy and your family's happy, just know you're probably 80% of the time you're going to get fired again. So
Right. Yeah, Steve just talked about. I'm looking for that report that he's staying with the Patriots. That is going to lose his general manager status. Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be some kind of change there.
Well, he's not going to coach though, right? He's not coaching, right?
I'm looking now. There's talk of him moving into the front office, like you mentioned. But I don't think they're just going to fire him.
No, but I thought they said he's not going to coach next year.
I'm looking for a report now.
Yeah, I thought so. If you're not going to coach, how do you stay on? Assistant general manager, vice president of whatever you want to call it. Who cares? But if you're not going to coach, I mean, I guess, if they take the general manager position away and bring somebody in, that's probably the next greatest thing, since sliced bread. And you hope they make the right moves and give him the talent that he had. I mean, look at it. I mean, look at the talent he had when he was winning those championships along with Brady. He had, Gronk and all those guys, that, followed them around.
This is what he said. I'm for whatever collectively we decide as an organization is the best thing to help our football team, Belichick said. I'm under contract. I'm going to do what I always do, which is come in every day and work as hard as I can to help the team compete in whatever way I can. So that's what I'm going to continue to do. So y'all gonna have to fire him.
Well, first of all, yeah, if you're a coach under contract, no ever way will you quit because then you don't get paid. So they're have to fire you or buy you out. But that's all coach speak. That's sports speak, right? And becoming the office. But when there is a private special meeting called before the last game of the season, guess what? Things are happening. I've been there before. It's not just to say, "Hey, great job." That means things are gonna change, and who knows what that change is? I mean, do they bring in? I don't know. Does he call the plays? Does he have an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator? Will they change those? That's what really usually happens. If you want to keep the head coach, then you fire the assistants and you bring some other people in.
Adam checks in and he makes a good point, Mo. Belichick hasn't really produced the best assistant coaches either.
You're right, Adam. I mean, I can't remember the dude's name, but he came from that background, Adam, and he came here to Las Vegas with the Raiders, and he was horrible. They ended up firing him.
Yeah, he just got fired.
Halfway through the season.
He was just fired. I'll think of his name in a minute. Here in Detroit, Matt Patricia was an utter disaster. And the Eagles gave Patricia promoted him to defensive coordinator about 5 weeks ago, and they hadn't won a game yet.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes like
John Daniels. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah. But when you're in a system, right? They have a system, and then you have the talent in the system to win all the time, and your assistant coaches are used to that system, and now you go to some other team and you're the head coach and you're pushing the buttons and you're calling the timeout and you're making decisions along the system that you learned somewhere else that doesn't work where you're at. You don't have the talent. You don't have the same talent. Just like I said about basketball, you got to decide, are you an up-pace team or a half-court team? And then you got to stick with it. And you try to make the other teams adjust to what you do. You can't make a system work if you don't have, you can't, like when I was in RGV, we scored 130 points a game, 138 at one point. And, we shot 53s a game. This was 15, 20 years ago. But we got players that can make three-pointers. So you can't be an up-tempo shooting three team unless you got guys that can push the ball and can make threes.
Right. So you need to know what you have. And Mo, this same conversation can take place in the National Basketball Association where you play, coach, and scout. And everybody has said you were smart enough to be a head coach and a leader, had the leadership qualities to be a head coach. But your problem is you're too tall because 7-footers don't get jobs coaching in the NBA. But it had to frustrate you to see some of these guys come off staffs of, they won a championship. And this dude, before his first game, doesn't stand a chance.
And there's also experience, like, look at Darvin Ham with the Lakers, right? Everybody loved him. Everybody wanted him. All the players wanted him. But I've coached against Darvin Ham in the D League. I know him. Great guy, great assistant coach, but he's never been head coach before. Totally different animal, moving over to that one seat. Same with Adrian Griffin in Milwaukee. A great assistant coach, but moving over that one seat is a big step, and sometimes it doesn't work. And I'm serious. What you talk about me is I didn't pass the eye test, right? I didn't look like some smart guy, short guy with glasses. I didn't look like a point guard, Avery Johnson or Doc Rivers or
Right.
whoever.
Right. Right.
So
And now you don't look like anybody because you disappeared. Oh, here you are.
so that is true. I mean, your resume has little to do with you getting a job. Usually, it's who you know and who can hire you, and that's how it works. And I mean, we tell us all the time. How many 6'10" and taller head coaches have there ever been in the NBA? I mean,
Kevin McHale,
Bill Cartwright, Bill Russell. That's about it.
Wow.
Right? Phil Jackson, 6'7".
Right.
Rudy Tomjanovich, 6'6". But look at all the point guards. I mean, from Scotty Skiles to
Lenny
Doc Rivers
Wilkins
to Steve Kerr to you can name all of those guys, right?
Yeah. Now, Adam, I don't think that's fair, Adam. It wasn't all Brady. Clearly, Brady was the catalyst.
Yeah, he was one of the best all-time quarterbacks ever, but he had to have an offensive line. He had to have receivers to catch the ball. He had to have a tight end. They had to have some kind of defense. So, it wasn't all Brady.
And you had to have a coach who, you know what? We're going to go with this 6th-round draft pick out of Michigan that nobody thinks can do anything. So,
and that goes with your gut feeling, right? Like we talked about analytics and other stuff that go into head coaching or GMing or ownership, hiring a coach, all that. Like if I'm whoever, New England or the Raiders or whoever, and I'm hiring a coach, right? I'm going to go through the analytics. I'm going to see what their win and loss record is. If they're an offensive minded, how much they score. Defensive minded, how much they do. What's their persona and everything. But then I need to meet you. I need to sit down and talk to you and get a heart to heart. And I need to get a feeling about you that I'm going to trust you with my team. So all of those have to combine.
Yeah. Hey, Adam, Bill Laimbeer was an excellent WNBA coach. Anyone?
But was he ever an NBA head coach?
No. And Bill was smart enough to do that. He was just never going to get that. And he lobbied hard for jobs.
Yeah, he wanted the Pistons job. He wanted the Timberwolves job. And was he capable? Probably. But guess what? He was smart enough to know after banging your head against the wall for years, they're not going to hire me as a head coach. Jack Sigma wasn't hired as a head coach. Patrick Ewing wasn't hired as a head coach until he went to Georgetown. So after a while, he said, okay, that's enough. Let me try the WNBA, which, by the way, is an awesome gig. It's 3 months. You get paid $300,000 or $400,000, and, it's a short season during the summer.
Yeah. Steve reminds us ABA Wilt was a head coach.
That doesn't count, Steve.
Yeah, that don't really.
That's not the NBA.
Your old teammate Brian Winters makes $25 million a season. I should tell him. That's from Steve.
Well, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I don't think he made $25 million.
Hey, Steve, I just ran into Brian at the USC basketball game here. I ran into him. He was scouting. He's scouting for somebody.
Hey, Paul, what would his value be in today's 3-point shooting NBA?
Not only that, but he could score. He was a scorer. I mean, 50, 60 points in a game, 40. I mean, but he was I tell the story when I was with the Bucks, early, and we had, Marcus Johnson, Brian Winters, Junior Bridgman, Sidney Moncrief, Bob Lanier. All these guys were a really good team. And I remember we played Denver, and they were high octane. And, guys like that, I'm going to score 50 tonight. But Brian had a terrible game. I think he was 0 for 21. 0 for 21.
Wow.
And then we went the next day, we fly to LA and we play the Lakers. And he's like 20 for 26.
Wow.
He scores 47, I think. And I'm sitting next to his locker, and a reporter comes in and says, Brian, you were 0 for 21 last night. How could you come the next day against the Lakers and start shooting? He goes, what were you thinking? Brian goes, I was thinking I'm going to make the next 21. That's what I was thinking.
I love that.
I'm a shooter. That's what I do. You know?
Covering Rip Hamilton with the Pistons doing their run, he said something similar along those lines. He had a bad shooting night, a couple of bad games in a row. Came back, had a hot night shooting the ball, didn't miss anything. And the guy said, well, what do you think about coming out of your slump? He's like, what slump?
Exactly.
I was like, I just
here's what they'll tell you, right? Shooters shoot when they're hot, and they shoot to get hot. Shooters shoot when they're hot, and they shoot to get hot. That's what like. If I played when I played with my role that I accepted, and I went 0 for 4, I wouldn't even shoot maybe one shot the next after two. You know, because that's not my. That's not in my
thing.
sight.
Right,
That's not my role. But if you're a shooter, you know, and as a coach, you know, I'm gonna. The next game, Brian goes 0 for 21. The next game, I want him to shoot another 21 because I know he's going to make 10 to 15 of them.
Yeah. Steve says he'd average 25 today, probably with the.
He would be along the lines of Ray Allen, you know, guys like that, you know. But Brian was pretty big too. He was a little. He was more physical than people think. He reminded me, he was the Kiki Vanderway before Kiki Vanderway. Really sneaky quick, really can shoot, you know, but Brian was a better shooter.
Man, it was so many players from that era. I hadn't heard the name Kiki Vanderway in a while. I mean, he was a hell of a player, man.
Kiki Vanderway was Carmelo before Carmelo.
Yeah.
Anthony. He was that guy. That's what he was. Mid-range guy, pull up, you know, first step. That's what he was, you know.
Adam, Pistons really blew a gasket this year. Sucks because I love Monty Williams. I like Monty too, but he's got to take the blame for it. You lose 28 straight games. Monty got to take some of that too. And now Cade Cunningham got hurt last night. They were actually beginning to play a little better. And competing, they were competing with Denver. They were down about 7. He went out, and they lost about 20 probably. Here in Detroit, we say the Pistons have become the old Lions. So,
well, and you know, I think the record for least wins in a season is held by Philly at 9, right?
9, yeah.
So I would think the Pistons might be right there, and it's unfortunate because I like Monty Williams too. And guess what, Adam? You know this too. If they fire any coaches, it's going to be their assistants, even though it's not their fault. And, you know, let's face it, the Pistons are not a good team. They're young, they have some talent, but they're not a good team. They can't compete with half the teams in the league. But like you said, Ricky, they need to be better than that. They need to not lose 8. I mean, come on, you can win 1 out of every 8 games, maybe, or something, you know.
Yeah. Hey Mo, let's get into the season a little bit. You know, Draymond Green is coming back. If he's coming back to your team, you've been struggling. I think you're like the 11th seed right now, Golden State. You know how to win championships. You're 17 and 19. What's the conversation you have with your good buddy Steve Kerr could have with Draymond when he comes back?
Well, first of all, it's so interesting to me that, and we've talked about this right before, you can't fix a problem that you have if you don't admit it's a problem, right? So when Draymond got suspended again and punched a guy in the face again and was suspended indefinitely, which I think was a cowardly way for the NBA to go, and Adam Silver, I'm sorry, Adam, but you know, if you're going to suspend him and then let him off after 18 games, suspend him for 18 games then. Don't fake like indefinitely. But, you know, he never did admit he was wrong, right? Well, he was grabbing my jersey and no, you punched him like you punched Poole, and you never admitted you were wrong. So how are you going to fix your problem if you don't admit you're wrong? And now they lift the suspension, so Draymond will come back. He probably won't play for another week or two. He'll be around the team. But now you say that Adam Silver talked you out of retiring, that the league and Adam Silver needs you so much. They need you so much, Draymond, that please don't retire. Oh, please don't retire. Come on, man. I mean, that's not the right way to come back. And when he was playing this year before he got suspended for the second time, the Warriors were still bad.
Yeah.
They were because it's not Draymond, it's not Curry, it's not Looney, it's Wiggins, it's Kuminga, it's those guys. It's Clay, who I guess Steve had a heart-to-heart with, and which is the right thing to do. Listen, you're a great player. You can make shots. You need to relax and have some fun, because you look like every game. You look like you're in prison. You look like you're playing a game you hate. Do you hate basketball? Well, you look like you do. So why don't you play it like you loved it, like you did before? And guess what? If you do that, things will come around. But I don't have any faith in the Warriors. I told you before the season they needed to get a big body, and
they're too small.
They're too small. Look at their rebounding; it's terrible. And unless you got Clay, Curry, and one other guy on fire, you're not going to win games. And guess what? To have three guys on fire all the time is hard to do. And just look at their record; that proves that.
Yeah, and Chris Paul is hurt. He's going to be down a couple of weeks.
He broke his hand.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hey, what do you think about Adam's comment? Dre doesn't respect the rules of respectful competition. And you played at a time where it was a physical league, where guys got after each other.
Adam, I agree with half yours. I think he respects the competition. He's one of the most competitive guys. But I agree. I don't think he respects the rules, because he breaks them all the time. And guess what? He's been allowed to break them all the time. Ever since he was in Michigan State, he was the physical guy, kind of outside the box. He's like a Dennis Rodman, but a little more polished and not as crazy. But he's been allowed to get away with this for years and years. So as a player, especially with your skills diminishing, you're going to try to get away with what you can get away with. And that's what he's doing. But
and it's so funny you mentioned that, Paul, because that goes back to our original conversation about Izzo. Those are the kind of players that Izzo wants. That's going to fight you, play physical, and be smart and get after you. And he was able to do all those things at State. And now, Adam thinks he's lost his legs. Well, I think he's definitely diminished in terms of his abilities.
Yeah.
Because the wear and tear of the way he's had to play takes a toll, doesn't it?
He can't play like he used to play. I guarantee you, like Izzo would say, just like you said, Ricky, hard-nosed, tough, blah, 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 blah. That's all great. But guess what? If you put an analytical grading on Draymond when he was at his peak, he would be rated high. Guess why? Because he plays defense, he gets steals, he gets rebounds, he passes assists, he doesn't turn the ball over, all those, and he doesn't take bad shots. Analytically, that is a good player. And he gets offensive rebounds. That's a good player. But now he can't do all that. Adam, I agree. He's frustrated. I'm telling you, I played pickup basketball till I was 50 years old. And I played pretty competitively till I was about 42. And then I played noon ball with guys that played in college and stuff. We had fun. But guess what? I couldn't do the things I used to be able to do. And I would get frustrated. And I couldn't stay in front of this younger guy. So, maybe I stick my leg out and trick him one time or something crazy. And then I feel like an idiot because, that's not right. So, yeah, he is getting frustrated. And you can see it because he can't do what he used to do. And guess what? The antics he does now is not effective anymore. It's a joke. And all the other players on the other teams think it's a joke. And they take offense to it. And even his teammates, even though they won't say it, they think it's a joke now too.
Yeah. Hey, Mo, you go out and play. I mean, everybody, you just playing some pickup ball. Everybody knows you're an NBA player. What do you do? Because I know everybody's gonna try to come at you all hard. You take Paul Mokeski to the hoop.
Well, I mean, after I retired, I love the game of basketball. If I could still play now, I would. At lunch or whatever. But when I didn't retire, no one paid me anymore. Like at 36 or 7, I went over to France, and I was a player coach in the CBA. But even I played till I was about 42, or 43. I would go back to Lawrence, Kansas, and speak at the Kansas Jayhawk camp with Roy Williams, speak to the kids. And every summer, for that week or two, guys would come back. Paul Pierce, Scott Pollard, Rafe LaFrance, Danny May, all these guys would come back and we'd play at night. And I could still hold my own for about an hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes, and then that's it. I could still run with them. I could still shoot. I could still rebound okay. But then at 43 or 4, I was doing the same thing. And after one of the workouts, my sons were at that camp. They were just young kids. And they looked at me and said, "Dad, you might not want to play in these games anymore." Because I couldn't hold my own anymore. But then I would play noon ball. I would play against, with guys that love the game, pass the ball, shoot, have fun, play some half-ass defense. And I love doing that. Some guys were dicks and try to prove that they could score on an NBA player. I look at them, I'm like, I'm 48 years old. I'm not an NBA player anymore. So yeah, you can score. You can score. You're 30. You can score on a 48-year-old man. But come on, man.
No, I would love to play some noon ball with you, man. I'd have been throwing it to you inside every time.
No, I never went inside anymore. No. I was a jump shooter. No more post up for me. I'm gonna pick and roll with you. I'm going to run the trailer with you. You can pass it between your legs, and I'll catch it and shoot a 3. And, I'm not posting up anymore. I never post up. At the end of my career, I didn't post up anymore. I'm not a post up. I was Brooke Lopez. I turned in not the old Brooke Lopez, but the new Brooke Lopez shooting 3s.
Right. Notice I was getting away from us, man. And thanks to everybody for all these great questions tonight. Hey, Paul, every time I look at these Western Conference standings, they look so backwards, man. Golden State in the 11th spot, Lakers in the 10th spot, Minnesota and your buddy Chris Finch at the top spot, 25 and 10. Oklahoma City and Denver are practically tied for the second spot. And I've been asking you about Minnesota. I think they're there to stay. I don't know if they'll finish number 1, but they're going to finish in the top 4.
Yeah, I talked about Lakers. Let's talk. Lakers and Warriors are what are they, 10 and 11 or something?
10 and 11.
They're trying for the play-in. Here, who's else? Phoenix Suns are 9th. The Phoenix Suns, but that's because Beal hasn't been healthy and hasn't played, but. And guess what? Remember about a month ago, the Indiana Pacers are now the Denver Nuggets that seem to be wrong. Yeah. What are they? They're in 8th spot now, right? Yeah. So, it's the wild, wild west like it was last year. In the East, Boston, Milwaukee, Sixers probably, right? In the West, Minnesota, they got a way to play Gobert and Anthony Towns at the same time. 2 7-footers can now stay on the floor. And Anthony Edwards, after the World Games, has become their star. He's an athletic wing that can really go. And then they have Conley, who's a veteran point guard who's running the show for them. So they're a legitimate contender. Denver's there. OKC has a lot of talent. Holmgren's coming on. They're really young. I like their talent. But I don't think it's their time anymore. I don't think they can beat some good teams in a 7-game series yet. They're not ready. The team that's going to move up, I think, are the Clippers. If Kawhi and George Harden's figuring out how to play with Westbrook. They're a team that has the talent to move up and contest with Denver and Minnesota. Dallas, I'm not buying Kyrie and Luka. Just don't think it works. Orlando's interesting, not really Houston, but Sacramento is still around there. But I mean, Minnesota, Denver are being the cream of the crop right now, and I don't see them dropping off drastically like the Indiana Pacers have over the last month.
Hey, I got two final questions, but I want to kind of touch on the Pacers because early in the year they were just scoring like crazy. Is that a product of teams? Okay, we're scouting these guys now. We got a better idea of what they're trying to do.
Who are you talking about?
The Pacers. Teams have saw what they're trying to do.
Yeah,
you got a bigger picture of them. Is that where that scouting comes in to kind of impact? Okay, so this is how we got to play these guys.
Yeah, and so now Halliburton's a legitimate star in the league, so you got to really handle him. You got to get through their starters. I saw them play here in Las Vegas. Their starting five is really good. Their backups aren't so strong. So now you're going to try and get them into foul trouble, get into their backup rotations. And teams catch up. It's like major league pitcher, right?
Yeah.
Eventually, hitters are going to catch up to you. They're going to catch up to your fastball. Yeah. They're going to figure out when you're throwing your curve or your slider, and they're going to catch up to you. Offense usually at the beginning of the year overflows and overrides defense, and eventually defense starts to catch up as the season goes on.
Yeah. Hey, I got your old team. We can't get out of here without talking about your beloved Milwaukee Bucks. They just struggled another day, and Giannis says we gotta get better. This is Giannis. We have to be better. We have to play better. We have to defend better. We have to trust one another better. We have to be coached better. Every single thing. Everybody has to be better. Everybody. It starts from the equipment manager. He has to wash our clothes better. The bench has to be better. The leaders of the team have to be more vocal. We have to make more shots. We have to defend better. We have to be better. So I think the equipment man went out and got some OxyClean to go with his Tide. But when you see a comment like that,
first of all, you kind of chuckle, right? He's not wrong because and when I first got with the Dallas Mavericks and got to know Mark Cuban a little bit, Mark Cuban came from a business background. It came from companies that build around building computers and programming and all that stuff. And he thought that, besides the players and the head coach, all the other pieces to the team were interchangeable. So as an example, if Paul Mokeski, as a scout and coach, if he doesn't want to stay here for X amount of dollars, he can leave. We'll find someone else to plug right in, and there won't be no change. However, in sports, basketball and all sports, everything is connected, and I think he learned that players are important, coaches, assistant coaches, video guys, equipment guys, trainers, ball boys and girls, they all relate to what's going to happen during the game. So you can't do laundry better. You can fold it differently, I guess. But at the same time, he does realize that, like when I was in Dallas, Dirk Nowitzki changed his jersey at halftime because he really sweat. So he'd get a new jersey on. All the guys would have at halftime or before the game, they would have one red Gatorade, one blue Gatorade, one this, one that. They had all their little intricacies of what they, put their socks on the shoe, put their socks in a ball, and they're all little things that add up. So, like if Dirk came in at halftime and we're playing in a playoff game against Miami Heat, and there's no jersey hanging in his locker that he can change into, he's going to have a problem, and so's the team, and he's not going to probably play up to his potential. So I can see where he was coming from, he went overboard on that. But there is some truth to that, and because everybody's related. Me as a coach and scout, I had a relationship with all the players different. Like I would go watch video with them of players. Here, you're going to guard this guy, that guy. They do this, that. So they got to respect me. I got to treat them the right way. All the coaches, all the scouts, all the video guys, all the equipment guys have to do that to be a successful team. I mean, but at some point, it's on the players, right? Players got to play and win, and they're still in second place. But I was helping a team, a minor league team here in Vegas years ago, helping with some schemes and stuff, and I would sit on the bench during at the game and give the head coach some ideas, and I love being part of it, and practice I love. And I remember after one game we had lost, and I don't know what, and sitting there and listening, and the coach was he was mad, and he was getting on some players, and one of the players stood up and said, I know we got to play better, but you guys got to coach harder. You have to coach harder. I'm like, I know how to coach, but I don't know how to coach harder. I coach to the best of my abilities all the time, but coach harder. So do the laundry better? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, what they got to do, Mo, is play defense better.
Yes.
And that's the problem because Dame Lillard is not a good defender.
He's a bad defender.
Your best defender's in Boston.
Holiday was a great defender.
Yeah.
So, it's like.
And you kind of warned about that when that trade went down.
Sure. I mean, you're going to make a decision. And you know what? Giannis kind of forced that decision. Because remember last summer, he was saying things need to change here. He was saying that, unless the team does what they should do, I might move on. Remember that? Yeah. So they kind of forced their hand to, well, we can't stay the same. And we don't want to trade someone to get some average dude, right? It makes no sense. So they went all out. They traded the beloved point guard that won them a championship, that won an Olympic gold, that all the players love, that passes, scores, defends, does everything. Great guy off the court, great guy in the locker room. They traded him for one of the best scorers in the league, in Damian Lillard, with the thought of, well, we're going to get a 30-point guy, and we'll make up for that lack of defense. Well, hasn't worked out that way so far. Now, season's early. We're only 1/3 of the way through. And, I think I saw them in person here, and I was mesmerized how when the game's on, it's like Giannis takes his turn, then Lillard takes his turn. You got to take your turns together, just like Denver does with Joker and Murray. And you got to run the pick and roll with the two most dangerous guys and let them play. You can't just put Lillard in the corner and say, okay, Giannis, go at it. You got to use them at the same time. And I hope they'll figure that out. But
well, can they find defensive help at the trade deadline?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, remember, and he's not playing hardly at all. Remember when the Lakers picked up Vanderbilt last year, a defensive wing?
Yeah.
And they made a run at the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
And he's not playing much in with the Lakers. There's guys like that out there. Those guys are easier to find than Lillard's and Giannis's. And I'm not in that locker room. If I was an owner or a general manager, I'm going to have to reevaluate how I'm thinking about Middleton. I mean, he's been injured. Can he be the Middleton we need him to be as our third guy? I mean, he shows it at points where he'll score 10 buckets in a row, but then he disappears. And, is it time to move him for somebody equal or better? I don't know.
He hadn't been that guy on a consistent basis in a while, Mo.
No. He's like Clay with the Warriors, right?
Yeah.
Clay has been up and down too. So are you going to be loyal? I mean, Middleton won a championship for you. Big part of it. You don't win the championship without him. And, so you have loyalty just like the Warriors have with Clay, or is it time to get what you can for him and try to make it a move? So that's on, the front office and the ownership. Are we willing to pull that trigger, which is a big trigger to pull because, it could really do you well, or it could backfire on you and just blow up everything.
Yeah. Well, man, we're going to get out here. What a great show to start the year off, Mo.
Yeah.
Tremendous conversation. Great comments from our viewers out there. We appreciate every one of you. And we'll be back at our regular time next week. But, Mo, who you got tonight?
Michigan in the under. I think this is Harbaugh's last game. I think if Michigan is going to play for him and he wins that game and he goes off in the sunset, either here in Las Vegas or in LA with the Chargers or somewhere else. And,
I think you're absolutely right.
I don't blame him.
I think you're absolutely right. And he'll have a boatload of money in tow as he's leaving Ann Arbor. All right.
He'll say, hey, send me my championship ring. I'm going to be in California.
Take care, everybody. See you next week. Bye-bye. Peace.